So you are thinking about a career in cybersecurity, but there's just one tiny problem. You have no idea which path to choose. Do you dive into defending systems as a real-time SOC analyst, or maybe you are more of the organized, policy-driven GRC type? Maybe you are the bold type. Maybe you want to get right into hacking systems legally, of course, as a pen tester. It's a tough call. And if you're Googling job titles and getting overwhelmed by buzzwords like CM, compliance frameworks, or zero-day exploits, you are not alone. Here's the good news. Every cybersecurity pro started exactly where you are today. Confused, curious, and maybe a little lost. There's even better news. Once you understand the core roles, everything starts to click. In today's video, we're going to be breaking it all down. We're putting GRC analysts, SOC analysts, and Pentester roles side by side. No fluff, just real talk. We'll cover what each role actually does, what a typical day looks like, the skills you need, and yes, we'll even talk about certifications. Because here's the thing, cybersecurity isn't a one-size-fits-all. Some roles are intense and technical, others are strategic and people-focused. Some are introvert-friendly, while others thrive on teamwork. So knowing who you are is just as important as knowing what the job requires. So stick around, because by the end of the video, you'll have a crystal clear understanding of what these cybersecurity roles are, what kind of person thrives in each, and most importantly, which one fits you the best. Let's get into it. Before we jump into GRC, SOC, and pentesting, let's talk about the core foundation they all share. Because no matter which cybersecurity path you choose, you're going to need a few common building blocks. And the first one's going to be networking basics. You don't need to be a CCNA wizard, but understanding how systems talk to each other is critical. It helps you follow attacks, build defenses, and communicate risks. The second one is going to be operating systems, OS, and you'll navigate both Windows and Linux, whether you're configuring systems, detecting threats, or testing for weaknesses. So it's foundational that you know the ins and outs of an operating system. The third one is going to be natural, it's security concepts. So think about risks, think about threats, vulnerabilities, and exploits. These are all fundamentals, and every role uses them just from different angles. The fourth one, which is compliance awareness, which is a little controversial, I think, but it's needed in this list. While it's the GRC analyst bread and butter, SOC analysts and pen testers need to understand regulatory expectations too, especially when advising on fixes. The fifth one, it's incident response, IR. SOC analysts live and breathe IR, but GRC analysts define the policies behind it, and then pen testers simulate attacks to test its strength. So it's foundational that they know the incident response process. And then this is the sixth one. I don't know, I forgot the number, but soft skills, communication, analysis, and documentation are all part of the job. So it doesn't matter how technical you are. If you can't explain something or you can't explain what's happening, you are losing impact. So soft skills, that's highly critical. It's needed for sure. And the last one's going to be tools. Each role builds its own tool set. GRC loves frameworks and Excel. SOC analysts also, they dig into CMs and EDRs, and pen testers, they leave on scanners and exploits. So with that in mind, now we can break down the roles. So GRC analyst, if you love structure, policies, and making sense out of chaos, GRC might be your cybersecurity home. GRC stands for governance, risk, and compliance. GRC analysts don't necessarily chase hackers or launch exploits, but instead they build the foundation that keeps the organization secure, legal, and audit ready. They connect the dots between tech teams, legal, leadership, and sometimes even external auditors or external regulators. Let's put it that way. But what do they actually do? GRC analysts are primarily involved in performing risk assessments. They're also involved in aligning controls with frameworks, whether that's NIST, ISO, SOC 2, or HIPAA, and they're also even involved in writing and maintaining security policy. They also review third-party risk, and they can even be involved in leading internal audits. They also track compliance, they could even also get involved in running awareness trainings, and they also report to leadership. And this is typically how they in the life of GRC analysts. They have a lot of meetings, they go and talk to vendors, they run assessments, they check on SOC 2 reports, they typically go and update registers and prep for status reviews. Their day is kind of more of a managerial kind of way, where they gotta in and out with your meetings and things like that. So, but who thrives in this role? GRC fits detail-oriented oriented thinkers who love structure, translating risk into language business leaders can act on, and great for career switchers. So even folks from business, law, or operations, this is a good role for them, to kind of get their feet wet if they want to get into cybersecurity. And if we want to talk about certifications, some of the certifications that are more relevant for this type of role, it's going to be something like CompTIA's Security Plus certification. And there's a very well-known organization with ISACA. It's an internationally known organization, and they have a couple of certifications that also help with getting yourself accustomed or to the actual job, and that's going to be C-RISC or CRISC, and then they have also the CISA, which is going to be, or the CISA, which is, I think it's Information Systems Auditor. I think that's the name. I think that's what it stands for. Also, there's another one that I found from TCM Security, which is going to be their GRC Masterclass. That would be really nice if you want to get into that and just check it out, because I know TCM that's the Cyber Mentors Academy. He's been for a couple of years, he has put a lot of information to the community, and that specific class kind of find it interesting that actually someone started putting GRC in the context of cybersecurity, so you should check it out as well. So what is a SOC analyst? If you are into fast-paced environments and want to be on the front lines of cyber defense, this might be the one for you. SOC, or SOC, stands for Security Operations Center, and SOC analysts are cyber first responders. So they monitor systems, detect anomalies, and triage real-time threat. But what do they actually do? Primarily, they monitor alerts, whether that the signal comes from ADR or firewall, or they look at their CM. They also investigate and triage incidents. They escalate high severity threats to senior levels analysts, and I'm going to explain that in a little bit. And they also update detection rules, whatever detection system they have, write incident documentations. They collaborate with different departments, and they have a tiered model within a SOC context, because in a SOC or a security operations center, you're going to have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 analysts, and each of these tiers are going to do very specific things, or they're going to help each other. Or for example, a tier 1 is going to be, assuming this is going to be an entry level, right out of the college professional, cyber professional, and typically they monitor and escalate low level detections, and they typically escalate those to the tier 2 guys, which are more in tune into, or more accustomed to investigating and responding to actual incidents or actual issues. And then you will have your tier 3 guys, which are more of the threat hunt people or the more technical forensics guys. So that's typically how it kind of goes in a SOC, right? A day in the life, it's going to be kind of different from tier to tier, but I'm going to explain the tier 1. They typically go in, they clock in, they look at dashboards, they spot any unusual things or unusual logging patterns, let's put it that way. And then they try to correlate different events from different, telemetry that is going on into their CM. So whatever that could be, firewall logs, it could be an EDR system for an endpoint. So there's a lot of things they do to kind of, go through all that noise and try to find if there's something going wrong in the systems. So, and then at the end of the day, SOC analysts working, like, depending on the organization or the size of the organization, you'll have 24-hour shifts. So they kind of, they roll over whatever they're working on to the next analyst and on the next shift. But who thrives on, in this type of role? SOC analyst feeds people who enjoy puzzles, procedures, fast-paced teams, and custom learning, because it's crucial that being completely honest is going to be for all cybersecurity roles. You gotta be a constant learner, and it's also great for those coming from IT or help desk backgrounds, because different from GRC roles where you can come from different backgrounds. In a SOC analyst role, people assume that you already know certain stuff and you are a little bit more technical than a GRC analyst would be. So at this point, someone that comes from an IT background, it's a good switch for them. So, or first level entry role to get into cybersecurity as well. Some of these certifications for a SOC analyst are going to be, again, Security Plus. And I also mentioned it because Security Plus, even though it's a very, let's say, ABCD type of exam, it challenges you on knowing the foundational aspects of a lot of different topics within the cybersecurity context. So it's a good certification to have. I personally have also the Blue Team Level 1, which is a more practical one. It actually shows you how to do this SOC Analyst Level 1 type of job. So I would recommend people who trying to go for that kind of, learning path where they like to play with stuff and learn new skills and learn new tools. BTL1 should be a good choice. Also, there's a very popular one, CCD, which is the Certified Cyber Defender one. That's a very practical one, and also getting a lot of traction in job openings. And also the new Try Hack Me SALT 1 certification, which is Try Hack Me new security operations certification. That should be a good one to check as well. And the last role is going to be Pentesting or Pentester. If you want to legally hack into systems and break things for the greater good, welcome to the red teaming little sibling, Pentesting. Pentesters simulate attacks to find vulnerabilities before real attackers do, and they're paid to think like the enemy, and then they write up how to stop themselves. So but what do they actually do? They typically run different scope tests on networks, apps, and systems. They typically exploit different vulnerabilities in a safe way, so they do not compromise production environments. They also write different remediation reports. Sometimes they get involved in phishing if that's scoped within the rules of engagements of a pen testing engagement. They also help prioritize fixes, and there's different types of pen testing because you have external pen tests, which are typically test the outside of a network, and then you have your internal tests, which test the internal part of a network, whether that's a web app or cloud, or whether that's a mobile, whether that's an API, things like that. And also you have red teaming engagement, which typically are more of stealthier, or let's say they kind of replicate more how a real world attack would happen. Typical day in the life, the pen tester would gain access to a specific internal or external test environment. They run some recon or reconnaissance tools to know what they're working with and find different exposures or exposed surfaces. They would find a specific vulnerability to exploit, and they do it in a controlled way, and then they would document whatever steps they took in order to do that specific attack. And then if they clock out, typically they wind down or they keep learning stuff. So who thrives in this specific role? Pen testers are builders and breakers. They are creative and they're very curious, so they love puzzles. That's very key. And they're like I said, they are independent learners. So some of these certifications, again, Security Plus, I think that all around is a good certification to have because it gives you a lot of the foundational knowledge in terms of the security concepts. CEH, that's another one which is also very popular because of the amount of job postings that require that specific certification. Also OSCP, which is offensive security certification. That's the king of all pen testing certifications, being completely honest. If you have it, I'm not gonna say it's a green light to HR, but it's out of 8 out of 10 job postings are gonna have an OSCP somewhere. So PMPT is another one. That's TCM, the security pen testing, or I think that was the first certification they launched. So it's another pen testing certification that you should look into it. And also Hack the Box, CPTS. I don't want to say it's a new one. It's about a year old or something like that, but it's getting a lot of traction in terms of the job postings out there. So you should also check it out. But which cybersecurity role is right for you? If structure, policies, and cross-team work, GRC is fine for you. If you want to detect and stop attacks in real time, SOC, that's definitely for you. SOC Analyst is definitely for you. And then if you love hacking and being creative and finding flaws, pen testing, that's the right path for you. You don't have to pick one forever. That's key because many pros pivot across different roles. If you want to see something like a more of a breakdown of the real pros and cons of each of these roles, I can work on that specific video for that. So let me know in the comments below. And if this helped you, smash that like button, drop your questions in the comments below, whether it's about GRC, SOC, or pen testing. And don't forget to subscribe for more real relatable security content without the fluff. Thinking about doing a follow-up on the video, like I said, let me know in the comments below if you want to see that. Cybersecurity isn't a one-size-fits-all journey. Wherever you are starting from, just keep taking the next step forward. And like always, stay secure, stay curious, and see you on the next one. Peace.